Let's do one more word with Stephen Cornish. He is the Executive Director of MSF Canada. And Stephen, I want to talk to you about some concerns that you have about the Trans-Pacific Partnership. But before we do that, we need to know what that is. What is it?
So the Trans-Pacific Partnership is a trade agreement that Canada and 11 other countries are signing on to. And our concerns are really about protecting the access to medicines of the populations around the world and in developing countries. And there is a provision being put forth by the U.S. That would look to block the access of generic medicines to our patients.
So you want to make sure that your patients, wherever they are in the world, can get to generic drugs as opposed to brand names?
Absolutely.
How come?
Because without them, we wouldn't be able to treat all of the conditions that we see in the developing world. We wouldn't be able to treat HIV/AIDS or TB. When we first started treating HIV/AIDS patients, it was $10,000 per year per patient. We're now down to under $100 per year per patient.
Is that because they're generics?
That's because they're generics and therefore they're affordable. So it's not only the generics, it's also to have access to the newest medications that come online. In tuberculosis, for instance, we're busy trying to fight multi-drug resistant TB. So we need there not only the old drugs, we also need the new molecules that are coming online. But this, in the new intellectual property words inside the TPP, they're looking to extend the amount of time that the patents will be good for an extra 12 years. They're looking to hide the molecules that are actually in it. So whatever's new inside that patent, they don't want to tell anybody. So they want to keep that secret, and they want to make it impossible for you to even be able to challenge a new patent coming on board.
Well, let's just understand this from Big Pharma's point of view off the top. They spend lots of money trying to develop drugs, bring them to market, and then of course they want as long a time as possible in order to recoup that investment. Otherwise, their shareholders will be unhappy and they won't have the money to do further research to create more product. You can understand that.
I certainly can. And
so what's the problem then?
Well, the problem is that the way that argument's been laid out comes with an artificially high price tag. What we have already done is to have an open source agreement with universities, governments, and organizations like ours that have been bringing molecules to market for much cheaper. So what underlines the problem actually is there's an innovation problem inside pharmaceuticals. And so they rely on the one blockbuster to pay for all of the other molecules that haven't been advanced and for all of their other business cycle. So what we know is that you can bring molecules to market much cheaper. We've done it. And the way to enhance public health for the world is not to hide away medical innovations and secrets, but actually to share them in an open source manner so that we can advance this agenda for our own public health.
So are you lobbying the Canadian negotiating team and letting them know about this?
Absolutely. We've had a very good reception by the Canadian negotiating team. We've also sent letters to the Prime Minister. We've started a petition only 4 days ago, which already has 10,000 signatures. And what it is it says that medicine shouldn't be a luxury. And you can go to our website at msf.ca and also sign up. And I might add that this TPP might not only have implications for the developing world, where we've seen similar language put inside trade deals in Costa Rica and in Jordan, their own medical prices have gone up. So this could have real implications for the Canadians and for the domestic costs that we bear here for medicines as well.
When you talked to the negotiating team for Canada, for the TPP, how sympathetic did they sound to your argument?
I think they definitely gave us a good hearing. We don't know, of course, their positions, but what we are buoyed by is that this last week there has been a counter-proposal that was submitted by Chile and several other governments. It's rumored that Canada might be among them. We don't know that for a fact. But we understand that the counter-proposal upholds the right to public health for medicines. And this right has been argued over many years. It was included in the Doha rounds. It's under the World Trade Organization's rules. And all we're asking in our challenge here is to uphold those rights. What's new in this is not pharmaceutical manufacturing. It's not the medicines that we use. What's new is the U.S. trying to change and turn back the clock to take away this public health exception, which Canada, by the way, used when we had our SARS epidemic. So it's a very legitimate usage to have a public health exception clause, which allows you to treat the ailments of your population in the developing world.
Have you talked to any representatives of Big Pharma about your position?
We have a team that does that, that's talked with pharmaceuticals, that's talked with also the other governments that are at the table in the TPP. And we really believe that protecting the public health exception is a must and
have
can
you
be
persuaded
done.
them? Have you persuaded Big Pharma?
Well, on our own open source, it's called Drugs for Neglected Diseases. We've gotten molecules from pharmaceutical companies. We've gotten assistance from research laboratories and from world governments. So it certainly can be done. It's about changing the way that we look at the innovation cycle. It's about looking at open source innovation rather than locking away. You know, what's really bizarre about this is that when normally people think about a trade agreement, we think that it's going to take away tariffs and levies and reduce prices and open up access. Where what we have here is actually stringent proposals to block access and raise prices. So there's something that's not quite right in the process going forward.
I presume that you're not the only people involved in these negotiations who takes the position that you take. Have you got other organizations that are also on side lobbying other countries? I mean, how big a movement is this?
Yeah, there are other doctors' associations. There are the generic manufacturers, of course, who you would expect to be on side. But I think increasingly you'll see that there are quite a number of organizations on side. What's very difficult is that we're not invited to the bargaining table. The discussions are happening all behind closed doors, and so it's very difficult to know if the concerns we're raising are truly being heard.
Do you know if you're going to win?
I know that we're going to fight as hard as we can.
I know that, but is there a deadline for when these talks have to have an agreement, and can you get to the right people by that deadline?
The deadline has been shifting a little bit. It was supposed to be early fall. Now we're hearing that it can be by the end of the year. And so we continue our work. We'll need the support of Canadians. If they reach out to their politicians, if they sign the petition, we're asking similar actions in other countries around the world. And I think if enough people raise their voices, then we can be heard. And if we can be heard, we can at least uphold the public health exception, which will ensure that we can continue treating people for HIV, for tuberculosis. Even vaccines are included in this. The new vaccines for children, we can't afford them to vaccinate children in the developing world. So this is really quite a broad issue. It has huge public health outcomes at stake. And I think I think the ordinary Canadian would be able to understand that and would certainly be in favor of ensuring that access to medicines continues for the world's poor.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.